Hello guys, today let's begin with the story of my simulated path to immortality. In the city of Zangjing of the Great Shen Nation, at the mansion of the Grand Preceptor, a grand birthday celebration was underway. The protagonist of this story, Li Fan, sat at the center of it all. Despite his advanced age, his imposing presence remained unchanged. Over the past 50 years, Li Fan had risen from nothing to the peak of power. Once a poor scholar who had transmigrated into this world with empty hands, he now stood as the Grand Preceptor, a figure whose authority overshadowed the entire nation. Looking back on his life, Li Fan felt satisfied. He had achieved everything a mortal could ever want. The top floor of the manor was filled with music, wine, and dancers. Guests laughed and drank freely, enjoying the rare moment of peace and celebration. Then, a subordinate suddenly rushed in, his face pale with fear. He reported that the sky was ablaze, filled with falling flames, an ominous yet seemingly divine phenomenon. Worse still, the flames appeared to be heading straight toward the city. Li Fan immediately stepped onto the balcony. What he saw shocked him to the core. The flames were not natural. Two figures were battling in the sky. Their presence alone distorted the heavens, as if the world itself could not withstand their power. One of them shouted a name, Dao Xuanzi, warning him not to push things too far. Below them, people fell to their knees in terror, worshipping these godlike beings. But unlike the others, Li Fan quickly realized the true danger. These beings did not even acknowledge the existence of mortals. In the sky, the dark-haired cultivator Dao Xuanzi confronted Kong Hong, a sturdy man with golden hair resembling a lion's mane. Dao Xuanzi demanded that Kong Hong hand over his core formation method, declaring that the fight would not end unless one of them died. Kong Hong scoffed. For nearly 100 years, he had been trapped at the Foundation establishment stage due to lacking a core formation method. His lifespan was nearing its limit, and this newly obtained method was his only hope. How could he possibly give it up? Dao Xuanzi agreed on one thing. The Golden Core Dao was a path walked alone. Countless cultivators were trapped at Foundation establishment, and with longevity within reach, there was no reason to show mercy. They had been brothers for 100 years. Now they were enemies. Knowing he was weaker, Kong Hong glanced down at the city below and questioned whether Dao Xuanzi could withstand the immortal mortal miasma created by so many mortals. Dao Xuanzi responded by raising his sword. A terrifying purple blade cut through the sky. Kong Hong countered by summoning a massive golden dragon. The two techniques collided. The heavens erupted. A deafening explosion engulfed Zangjing, flattening buildings and setting the city ablaze. When Li Fan regained consciousness, everything had changed. His mansion was reduced to rubble. His wife and children lay dead. Bodies filled the streets, and fire consumed what little remained. The once prosperous city had turned into a nightmare of blood and destruction. Less than 1 in 100 people had survived. Li Fan collapsed amid the ruins, laughter escaping his lips, not from joy, but from despair. So immortals truly existed. From that day onward, Li Fan became obsessed with the immortal path. Using the power of the empire, he searched the entire world, from the frozen seas in the north to the great ocean in the south, from the ruinous abyss in the east to the linked mountains in the west. He found nothing. Decades passed. Old and exhausted, Li Fan began to doubt whether those cultivators had ever been real, until he activated his unique treasure, Hanjin. Countless glowing texts appeared before him. When the true becomes false, the false becomes true. Hanjin completed its charge and asked whether he wished to return to the initial anchor point, the moment he first transmigrated into this world. This was already Li Fan's second life. In his first life, he had lived an ordinary existence. It was only after awakening Hanjin that he achieved his unstoppable rise. But this life was not over yet. After stabilizing the ruined city and confirming that there was no trace of the cultivators, Li Fan finally made his decision. Blue light enveloped him as time began to reverse. Scenes from his life flashed before his eyes. Two names remained firmly etched in his mind: Dao Xuanzi, Kong Hong. And that brings us to the end of this part of my simulated path to immortality. At the beginning of chapter 2, Lin fell into the swirling portal without hesitation, his heart filled with a single determination to hunt down the two immortals in his next life. By this point, riches, power, and honor had long lost their meaning. They were nothing more than fleeting clouds drifting across the sky of his existence. Soon after, the system activated once again, regressing Lin back to the anchor point of his life. In the first year, overwhelmed by joy at being reborn, Lin behaved strangely. His odd actions nearly caused his aunt to force him to drink exorcism water prepared by the village witch. Half a year later, he participated in the provincial examination. Though he placed only in the lower 30s, he still succeeded in becoming a Joren, finally bringing honor to his ancestors. In his second year, Lin passed the metropolitan examination. During the palace exam, he performed exceptionally well, earning second rank and receiving the title of Jinhur. Through careful maneuvering in Shenjing, he secured the position of county magistrate of Jiangnan County. By his third year, Lin began cultivating a trusted inner circle. At the same time, he secretly produced a batch of explosives and matchlock rifles. In the fifth year, refugees rebelled against Prince Lange's manor. Lin led troops to suppress the chaos, rescuing Prince Lange's family. The prince became deeply grateful to him. In the sixth year, Lin was promoted to prefect of Jianghai Prefecture and married the daughter of the vice minister of rights. In the seventh year, his wife bore him a son. By the 10th year, Princess Langia also gave birth to a son. Lin personally visited to offer his congratulations, presenting a carefully prepared gift. In the 15th year, the emperor passed away. Prince Langia ascended the throne and changed the era name to Shenjing. Emperor Shenjing summoned Lin to the capital, promoted him to Vice Minister of War, and ordered him to suppress rebellions across the land. By the 18th year, Lin had wiped out the rebel forces. The emperor reclaimed his military authority, but promoted him again, this time to Minister of War and Grand Tutor to the Crown Prince. In the 20th year, the empress was suddenly implicated in a witchcraft scandal. Enraged, Emperor Shenjing confined her to the Cold Palace. The Crown Prince secretly sought Lin's help, and Lin agreed without hesitation. Through private investigation, he uncovered the truth and cleared the empress's name. Yet, despite this, the emperor refused to release her. In the 25th year, Lin received secret news. Someone had reported him for privately visiting the empress. That same year, the emperor was assassinated during a journey. The officials retrieved the empress from the Cold Palace, and the Crown Prince ascended the throne under the era name Kongning. In the 26th year, Lin was further ennobled as Grand Tutor and appointed Grand Scholar of the Deliberative Council, reaching the pinnacle of mortal authority. Using this position, he eliminated dissent and built his own faction within the imperial court. By his 30th year, the world knew only of the Grand Tutor, not the emperor. In the 31st year, the Empress Dowager became pregnant and bore a son. In the 38th year, Emperor Kongning died of depression. In the 40th year, the Empress Dowager passed away from illness. In the 45th year, Lin's wife died. In the 46th year, his eldest son succumbed to illness. Then, in the 50th year, the nightmare returned. Two immortals descended from the ruinous abyss, destroying the city of Shenjing. Lin barely escaped with his life. The simulation ended. The system presented four choices. First, retain an item from the simulation. Second, retain his cultivation realm. Third, inherit the memories of someone closely connected to him. Fourth, abandon all of the above to accelerate the charging progress. Lin pondered deeply. Was everything he experienced real, or merely an illusion so vivid that truth and falsehood no longer mattered? In the end, he set aside these thoughts and focused on survival. Stability was paramount. He chose the fourth option, accelerating Hanjin's charging progress. Across 3 lives, Lin had lived a total of 166 years. His mental age limit had also increased beyond 1,000 years. Though time eroded the soul, this would no longer be a problem once he stepped onto the path of cultivation. His goal in the next life was clear: learn the secrets of cultivation from the two immortals. In 50 years, they would descend once again. This time, he would be ready. Unable to wait idly, Lin sent people deep into the ruinous abyss to investigate. For the first time in countless years, his life had purpose again. The appearance of the immortals revealed a vast and alluring world beyond mortality. Lin longed to cultivate. In his next life, everything proceeded smoothly. He once again participated in the imperial examinations, this time achieving first place in all 3, shaking the entire world with his fame. He still chose to govern a single county, healing it swiftly through experience and foresight. Secretly, he replaced Prince Langia with a body double and seized control from the shadows. Years later, even Princess Langia's child was secretly his. Step by step, Lin manipulated fate itself. In the 35th anchor year, reports confirmed the truth. The ruinous abyss concealed an inverted world of mountains, cities, and even a city in the sky. The immortals had indeed come from there, yet no method could withstand the terrifying astral winds guarding the abyss. And so, Lin waited. Finally, the 50th anchor year arrived. On a moonlit night, 2 overwhelming auras once again clashed in the heavens. As Kohong shouted Duan's name, fiery projectiles suddenly streaked toward them from below. For the first time, the immortals were attacked. And that brings us to the end of this part of my simulated path to immortality. At the beginning of chapter 3, below them, several armed soldiers moved with lawless coordination, firing their rifles relentlessly at the 2 cultivators. The sound of gunfire echoed like thunder across the city. Kohong casually raised his hand. In an instant, every bullet froze in midair. He stared at the suspended projectiles, confusion flashing across his face. What were these strange objects? Curiosity quickly replaced his surprise. With a flick of his fingers, flames surged forth, disarming one of the soldiers and pulling a peculiar metal weapon into his grasp. A rifle. Kohong examined it carefully, incredulous. The weapon relied on intricate mechanical structures instead of formations, and explosive force instead of spiritual energy. To think that after thousands of years, the mortals exiled to this land of immortal extinction had managed to create something so ingenious. He was amazed, yet also disappointed. Such a weapon could only function in a place where the great Tao was incomplete. Outside this land, it would be nothing more than useless scrap metal. But what truly angered him was the audacity of these insignificant mortals daring to attack immortals. The faint guilt he once felt vanished completely. With an intolerable expression, Kohong coldly questioned whether these mortals were simply seeking death. Without another word, he invoked his Tao art. Flame Dragon's roar. A massive fire dragon formed in the sky, its body blazing as it surged forward. It swept through the manor and across the city, leaving utter devastation in its wake. In mere moments, the city began to resemble the ruins Lin had witnessed in his previous life. Yet this time, something was wrong. Kohong froze in shock. The flame dragon dragon's roar was fundamentally something no mortal could withstand, yet almost all of Lefon's soldiers were still alive. At that moment, Dao Xuanzi noticed something alarming. The soldiers' weapons were soaked in mortal blood, and Kohong himself had been tainted by the immortal mortal miasma. His Dao arts were weakened. Only then did they realize the truth. They had walked straight into a carefully prepared ambush. This land was bizarre and dangerous. Dawanzi immediately suggested retreating, but before they could leave, a chilling voice echoed through the night, threatening that if they fled, the news of them obtaining a core formation method would spread throughout the entire cultivation world. The next moment, panic set in. Only the two of them knew about that secret. Who had leaked it? Before they could react, several cannonballs condensed with immortal mortal miasma were fired straight at them. Furious, Kohong roared and unleashed massive flames to intercept them. Dao Xuanzi sensed the danger and shouted for him to dodge, but it was already too late. Kohong's flames detonated the cannonballs instead, releasing vast clouds of immortal mortal miasma. The night sky above the ruined city turned blood red as the deadly substance rained down. Amid the wreckage, the two cultivators stood surrounded by dozens of armed soldiers. A soldier stepped forward, announcing that their grand tutor had ordered their lives to be spared if they surrendered. Dawanzi scoffed, but before he could retaliate, he saw Kohong's storage ring floating before him. Understanding dawned instantly. With horror in his eyes, Dawanzi turned to his brother, only to hear Kohong calmly urging him to take the ring and leave. The next moment, Kohong died. A massive golden dragon burst from his body, soaring into the night sky above the burning city. The dragon's spirit transformed into a floating tree branch as a declaration echoed through the heavens. The Foundation establishment cultivator Kohong, who cultivated for 205 years using the mystical object Cho Dragon Branch, had perished in the land of immortal extinction. Besieged by mortals and fatally injured by immortal mortal miasma, his cultivation was destroyed, his lifespan exhausted. His body perished, and his Dao returned to the heavens. A soldier spoke again, stating that the Grand Tutor had no intention of killing Dawanzi. If he ceased resisting, his life would be guaranteed. Nearby, Lefen watched everything with a cold, detached gaze. He vaguely heard a strange voice from the sky at the moment of Kohong's death, but it no longer mattered. Capturing both immortals in this life was clearly impossible. Even Li Fan had not expected the immortal mortal miasma to be this lethal. Dawanzi rose to his feet and calmly declared that he knew nothing of their identities or intentions. His brother had been plotted against, their Dao destroyed. This humiliation was unacceptable. The puppeteer hiding behind these mortals and daring to use immortal mortal miasma, a substance despised by all cultivators, had crossed a line. Rage burned in Dawanzi's eyes as he reminded everyone that they had already witnessed his brother's Dao foundation. Now he would show them his. Ascending into the sky, Dawanzi spread his hands and spoke with a chilling calm. With the wonders of heaven and earth, I build my Dao foundation, a sword named Daosin. The sky trembled. A colossal sword, as large as a mountain, descended from the heavens and crashed into what remained of Shenjing. Destruction became unavoidable. In that instant, Lin activated Hanjin's power and returned to the virtual simulation space. Clutching his chest, he felt the terror of a cultivator at the peak of Foundation establishment. Without immortal mortal miasma, even 100 reincarnations and endless schemes would not have been enough to threaten Dawanzi or Kohong. Lin finally understood their bond as brothers was real. In death, Kohong entrusted everything to Dawanzi, and Dawanzi, unable to accept his brother's end, chose mutual destruction. This only deepened Lin's curiosity about the cultivation world beyond. No matter how dangerous the path ahead was, he would not waver. In the 35th anchor year of his new life, Lin ventured into the endless ruinous abyss. As expected, the dense fog dispersed once every 15 years. When the fog erupted skyward like a reversed waterfall and finally cleared, Lin gazed through his telescope. What he saw changed. Ruins appeared, along with an inscription. The path to immortality is dead. Lin stood frozen, shocked and puzzled, wondering what had happened to the world of cultivation itself. And that brings us to the end of this part of my simulated path to immortality. At the beginning of chapter 4, soon, the scene shifts to Lin's 50th birthday. In the 15th anchor year, history repeats itself. Kohong once again roars furiously at Dawanzi, reciting the exact same words he had spoken in the previous lives. The echo of fate feels suffocating, but this time something is different. Below them, Lefon's soldiers raise their rifles, and they fire relentlessly. Yet their target is not both cultivators, only Kohong. The bullets tear through the air. Kohong reacts instantly, blocking them mid-flight, but his expression twists in confusion. What? His brows knit together. Why? Only me? Then realization strikes. The bullets are coated, immortal mortal miasma. Kohong's pupils shrink. He turns sharply toward Dawanzi, fury blazing in his eyes. So this is how it is, he roars. 100 years of brotherhood, and this is your answer? But Dawanzi is frozen. What are you talking about? His voice cracks, not with guilt, but shock. These mortals are not under my command. He looks down, then back at Kohong, panic rising. They're not mine, and that miasma. This is wrong. We need to leave now. Before either can move, a voice booms from below. Li Fan, Immortal Master Dawanzi, he shouts coldly. Why are you going back on your promise? Kohong's heart sinks. Lin's voice follows, calm, almost amused. As agreed, Lin says, you would help Dao Dawanzi eliminate Kohong and seize the core formation method. In return, I would lead my clan out of the immortal Forsaken Land. Silence. Dead silence. Kohong slowly turns. His voice trembles, not with fear but betrayal. Tell me, Dawanzi, he growls. Do you still insist on your innocence? Only the two of us knew about the core formation method. Dawanzi's patience snaps. Enough. His eyes harden. I will find the one pulling the strings. Lin keeps talking, deliberately fanning the flames. We have already angered the masses by using the immortal mortal miasma, Lefun adds. If you abandon us now, Immortal Master, my clan will die without even a burial place. The guilt-tripping disgusts Dawanzi. His killing intent erupts. He charges downward like a falling star. Shut your filthy mouth. Boom! The ground explodes as Dawanzi lands. Dust, rubble, shockwaves. His gaze locks onto a strange object nearby. A radio. An artifact? At the same time, Lefun shouts in feigned panic. He's trying to silence us forever. Dawanzi snarls, realizing too late how cautious his enemies are. He obliterates the device in one strike, but the damage is already done. Above, Kohong is shaking with rage. So it's true. His voice cracks. You betrayed me for greed. If you wanted the method, he screams, why not challenge me openly? Why resort to such filth? His aura erupts. I won't flee anymore. He points straight at Dawanzi. Come, if you have the ability, face me. Flame Dragon's wrath. A colossal dragon of fire erupts into the sky, roaring as it charges. Dawanzi exhales slowly. So this is how it ends. He raises his sword. Fire and steel collide. Boom! The night sky trembles. Then another broadcast echoes. Lin's voice again. I've changed my decision. Calm. Calculated. Dawanzi is fickle and vindictive. If he wins, none of us will survive. I hereby order my soldiers, assist Immortal Master Kohong. Kohong bursts into laughter. So this is the noble Dawanzi? He sneers. Abandoned by mortals, betrayed by fate. He who commits too many injustices destroys himself. Dawanzi finally loses control. You blind fool, he roars. But Kohong no longer listens. This is perfect, he declares. I've just mastered a new Dao technique. Imprisoning dragon. A flaming cage snaps shut around Dawanzi. Enraged, Dawanzi expands his sword. Crack! The prison shatters. Enough defense act. He raises his arms to the heavens. Witness my Dao foundation. The colossal sword Daosin descends from the sky. But Kohong answers, then face mine. A golden dragon erupts. Dao dragon staff. Before they can clash, explosions. Immortal mortal miasma floods the battlefield. Lean soldiers strike. Dawanzi screams. His Dao foundation corrupted. The dragon branch within him grows uncontrollably. Roots tear through flesh. Branches pierce bone until nothing remains. A corpse. A voice echoes from the heavens. Foundation establishment cultivator Dawanzi, cultivated for 201 years. Dao foundation, rusted sword Daosin, perished. Lefun exhales sharply. The same voice. Again, he approaches Kohong. I greet Immortal Master, Lin says respectfully. Please spare the 1,000 lives of my clan. Kohong studies him. So it was you, the voice from all directions. Why would a mortal dare interfere in a battle of immortals? Lin bows deeply. Because if Dawanzi won, we were already dead. Kohong sighs. You mortals truly don't understand, he explains. Leaving this land is deadly, even for cultivators. Taking mortals along? Impossible. Lin freezes. So you didn't know either? Kohong nods casually. No. Desperation creeps into Lin's voice. What about our descendants? If they cultivate? Kohong laughs. There is no spiritual energy here. Mortals are soaked in miasma. They can see the Dao, but never touch it. The verdict is final. There is no way out. Lin stands, bows, and leaves. The door closes. Then immortal mortal miasma floods the shelter. Kohong screams. Realization hits. Outside, Lefun listens. Expression cold. If immortals and mortals cannot coexist, then how could I ever trust an immortal's words? And that brings us to the end of this part of my simulated path to immortality. At the beginning of chapter 5, according to the intelligence obtained from Kohong, the land of immortal extinction was never meant to exist. It was an immortal forsaken land, born from a catastrophe that shook the ancient cultivation world thousands of years ago. Back then, an unknown plague appeared among mortals. At first, no cultivator cared. Why would they? Mortals were insignificant, fragile, disposable. But everything changed the moment the first cultivator became infected. The plague evolved. Its medium of transmission was none other than spiritual energy itself, the very lifeline cultivators depended on to survive. Like wildfire carried by the heavens and earth, it spread across the entire cultivation world. For those infected, a mild case meant their cultivation regressed, their realm collapsing. A severe case meant losing everything overnight, becoming no different from a mortal. Then their bodies would perish. Their Tao would vanish, returning to the heavens. Driven mad by fear and desperation, cultivators turned their fury toward the supposed source, the mortals. A large-scale slaughter began. Cities burned, blood flowed, entire bloodlines were erased, but it didn't work. The plague didn't disappear. Instead, freed from restraint, it spread even faster through the spiritual veins of heaven and earth, claiming even more cultivators. Waiting for death was never the cultivators' way. Some began researching ways to resist the plague. Others proposed a solution so cruel it would stain history forever. The Great Migration Plan. All mortals would be banished, exiled to lesser worlds, shattered grotto heavens devoid of spiritual energy. Formations would seal these worlds permanently. No return, no redemption. And thus, the immortal Forsaken Lands were born. Over time, even cultivators gave birth to mortal descendants. Within them lingered a shadow of the plague. That shadow became the line between immortals and mortals. It was named Immortal Mortal Miasma. After reading everything, Lean realized something terrifying. He didn't even know how many immortal Forsaken lands existed, and the number of cultivators willing to risk entering them was almost zero. To encounter 2 cultivators in one lifetime was already miraculous, but miracles meant nothing to a mortal with limited time. Lean was 70 years old. His biological lifespan ended at 86, 16 years. That was all he had left. A chilling thought seized him. Was he doomed to repeat mortal lives again and again, trapped forever within the cage of mortality? For a brief moment, despair almost swallowed him, but then, no. After waiting nearly 300 years, how could he give up now? Lean went to see the captured Kohong. How did mortals arrive here during the Great Migration? Kohong was genuinely stunned. You still haven't given up, so what if he escaped? At 70, he still wanted to cultivate immortality? Lean leaned closer, his voice calm but sharp. Your cultivation base is gone. Right now, you're no different from us. And if you return to the cultivation world, you might recover. He proposed a deal. Help him find a path back to the cultivation world, and he would take Kohong with him. Kohong sneered. Treacherous villain, trying to trick him again. But Lean didn't argue. Truth or lie, it's still hope. Are you willing to rot here and die? Silence. Then a helpless sigh. Kohong explained. In ancient times, mortals were transported using flying arcs and shuttles, transport-type Dharma artifacts. Back then, sex flourished. The world was prosperous, but a great calamity struck. Cultivators scattered. Those artifacts vanished. When Lean asked about the calamity, Kohong shook his head. The plague alone wasn't enough to destroy the cultivation world. The real reason, there can only be one golden core Tao. Methods could not be cultivated by more than one person. When too many practiced the same technique, cultivation efficiency collapsed. Masters turned on disciples. Brothers became enemies. The cultivation world drowned in blood. Lean remembered the endless abyss. Everything began to connect. So how did cultivators cultivate now? Kohong sighed. 2 paths. The Myriad Immortals Alliance, missions, contributions, incomplete methods, or the 5 Elders Council, loyalty contracts, and lifelong service. Methods weren't scarce, but all were incomplete. To advance, one must constantly switch techniques. Lean frowned. Wouldn't that waste everything? Kohong explained the supreme primordial true scripture fragment, a method allowing one to disperse cultivation without loss. Lean was shaken. It was too convenient, too perfect. Kohong sighed again. What choice do we have? Only then did he reveal the truth. Dawanzi didn't flee just for a core formation method. It was a true nascent soul method, a path that didn't need to be abandoned. Later, Kohong mentioned rumors, mortals secretly returning to the cultivation world, baseless gossip, or hope. Lean wouldn't let go. If there was even a sliver of possibility, he would pursue it. He promised Kohong everything. Freedom, return, all belongings, even the nascent soul true method. Kohong was stunned. After confirmation, he agreed. For 16 years, Lean searched. Ancient records, tombs, ruins, suppressing dissent, ignoring resentment, but time was merciless. 16 years later, nothing. Lean stood at the end of his life, his body fragile, like a candle in the wind. Before this life ended, he opened Kohong's storage ring, the Jade Cosmos Golden Chapter Scroll, a nascent soul method, 0 cultivators, a mountain of treasure, no way to use it. Then, something impossible happened. The Hanjin system reacted. Item detected, rusted sword din, status damaged. Classification rechargeable item. The system asked, proceed with recharge. And that brings us to the end of this part of my simulated path to immortality.